What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Spider Sense Riding. My name is DJ. I'm the three-wheel Can-Am specialist here at MotoMember Select, and today I want to talk to you a little bit about pre-owned bikes, what to look out for, what to consider, especially for those that are just getting into the Spider market. Some of us are just now doing our research. We see a couple bikes online. Some of them are pre-owned with some great budgets or some great pricing out there, and now we're in that mindset where, okay, I think I want to start pulling the trigger. So you guys give me a call, you give other dealerships a call about pre-owned bikes such as this one. This is a 2014 Spyder ST Limited. So in 2014, this is the newest body style that they've had. If you guys can tell from the side profile, it looks very sporty, it looks very aggressive. Fast forward to a couple of years later, this is technically the predecessor to the F3 models. So the F3S, the F3T, the Limited, and the Special Series. So in 2014, this was the new body style, the new type of model that they came out with. And one thing I pride myself on or talk to people the most about is making sure that you get properly fitted for the bike. So when somebody comes in on this bike here, I'll say, yeah, it's a great bike. It's a V-twin motor in this one. It's a 990. It's a 5-speed. Some of the newer models, if you guys did not know, it's a 1330 motor in there, and it's also a 6-speed. But I'll just talk about some of the good stuff about the bikes because Can-Am does make some great bikes at the end of the day. 3 wheels helps with stabilization. You're comfortable. You don't have to worry about balance. All that is taken care of when you have the reverse trike kind of setup here. So when I get people coming in here, I'll talk about the bike. We'll go over some of the different features. And then what I mainly do is have them sit on the bike and get comfortable. They have to understand this is how it's going to feel. These are the different controls. And one thing that I kind of see in their head that goes off is they'll sit on one bike, then they'll start sitting on a couple other bikes. And they're tallying up in their own mind, okay, I kind of see why Can-Am did make their changes to the body styles. So I'll give you guys a quick example as I hop on this bike. And I'm just going to put myself in the position as if I was a customer, I'm sitting on it. This is my very first Spyder that I've ever sat on. Of course, I feel like this is super comfortable. Again, I don't have to worry about balance. The stabilization is there. I can see myself riding this bike. I feel safe on this compared to a 2-wheel bike. And then I will start pointing out certain things like, okay, how does your back posture feel? How do your arms feel? How do your legs feel? Then that's when they'll start considering, okay, the floorboards are nice. The handlebars feel stable. I feel secure in this. I don't feel too aggressive. It just feels like something I want to get into. And I'm like, fantastic. Okay. Now picture this. Let's say you're going 45 minutes down to an hour long and you want to stretch your legs out a little bit more. And they look down and they realize that the body panels are sort of in the way. They don't really have that ability to stretch their legs out. They are locked in this one position. And if you guys can sort of tell from the side profile, the floorboards do angle down. So it does kind of force you to kind of come forward a little bit. And if you notice, there is no section here for a backrest. So you are fixed in this position. So I asked them, can you see yourself 45 minutes to an hour, maybe even longer than that? Because again, once we start riding these 3 wheels, not worrying about balance, knowing that you have some type of storage for saddlebags, we want to ride longer and longer distances. So making sure that you understand, if you can ride this bike for a long period of time, we're on the right bike. Then I'll ask, can you see yourself stuck in this position for that length of time as well? If this is slightly uncomfortable for the 5 minutes, 10 minutes that we're here in the dealership sitting on the bike, that should kind of be a telltale sign for you that, oh, maybe that could be an issue. I do have a little bit of knee problems, or, I can foresee something, me trying to stretch my legs out, but I can't really do that just based on this body style here. And then on top of that, it's just the aggressive feel that you get from it. It's perfectly justifiable if you are coming from 2 wheels that were sporty bikes like your Ninjas, like your S1000s, your Hayabusas, where you already have that aggressive lean. This is probably going to be the closest thing that you're going to get to a 3-wheel version of it with the same style of feel to it. Because again, you usually have a full tuck on those style of sport bikes, but this is Can-Am's most aggressive, most sportier looking bike that they've made here in 2014. But just based on the seating position is what I really had them focus on. And then, of course, at the dealership, I'll make sure that we sit on a couple other bikes because I will make sure, just to say you have an opinion, sit on the newer styles. Like I would have them sit on an F3S, I will have them sit on an F3T, and then I'll also point out some of the UFit system that they've had on the new bikes because you can adjust your feet, in the 5 different brake pedal positions. You can adjust the handlebars as well. But on this 2014 ST Limited, this is where you are locked in at. There's nothing that you can do about this brake pedal. There's nothing that you can do about these handlebars. Unfortunately, you can't even add a backrest to this unless you swap out the entire seat completely. But just to make sure you have an opinion on every single style of bike, you know, before you make that before you pull the trigger. Because I tell people all the time, I don't sell Spyders. I help people buy Spyders. I can't spend your money, but if I can give you the knowledge that I've gained over the past couple of years, allow you to sit on a couple different bikes for real world experience, you'll make your decision based on that. And that's what it really comes down to. But not having the ability to have a UFit system on this style of bike is just something that unfortunately was not available in 2014. And what I make sure that I'm adamant on is when I'm talking about something like this, is I have to tell you that put yourself in 2014 when this model was brand new. This was the latest, the greatest that Can-Am has came out with. They're doing amazing things about changing the game when it comes to riding. A lot more people riding because you have three wheels. And then Can-Am sat down at the table and they started doing their own analysis on how can we make people a little bit more comfortable? How can we make sure that they ride a little bit longer without having any aches or any pains or potential aches and pains? Because some of us might not have any problems riding something like this, but how can we prevent that from happening, especially if the older crowd or some of those people that just have banged up bodies are they're just not as resilient anymore? How do we make them more comfortable? Well, on the newer style bikes, like I mentioned in my previous videos, is with the UFit system. They changed up the entire body frame. They also changed up the motor. But by changing up the body frame, now you have those different foot positions or those brake positions that you can stretch your legs out. You have those different handlebars that actually accommodate your lean back kind of feel. Because now with those feet moving forward, your body is naturally going to lean back. Because right here, my body is naturally making myself lean forward. And then when you have these handlebars, you're holding on to it. So you're leaning forward the entire time. But when you stretch your legs out, I don't know if you just noticed, but my body did kind of torque a little bit backwards. And that's perfectly normal when you stretch your legs out. So if they stretch your legs out on these positions, on your floorboard positions or your brake pedal positions, you're going to lean back. So the entire saddle actually changes as well. Just based on where you sit, it's contoured a little bit different so you can lean back. There's a little bit more lumbar support. They did shorten up the seat a little bit because this is pretty long, which kind of forces you to be forward. But again, when your feet go forward, naturally you're going to lean back. So they made a change to the seat itself, the ergonomics in total, but they've added those backrests so you can lean a little bit farther back. They also have the different handlebars that can accommodate your new riding style. But those are the main things that we have to consider or look at when we're looking at some of these pre-owned bikes. And a lot of us out there, well, a lot of dealerships out there, they're just happy to put you on a bike, possibly get a sale, and have you continue about your day. But again, I can't spend your money. All I can do is make sure that you're well informed before you make a major purchase. Anything over $2,000, in my opinion, is a major purchase, and this is a lot of these Spyders are going to be well more than a lot more than that. So before you spend your hard-earned money that you worked hard for the past couple of years, past couple of months, however long it is, I want to make sure it's going to the right bike. So again, sometimes when we're looking at some of these pre-owned bikes online, we see a certain budget, we see a certain price in there, we kind of want to jump on it. But as my job, I'm just going to slow you down just a little bit. We'll talk about the bike, some of its great features that it has. We're going to sit on them so you get a real world experience. And then I'm also going to just have you sit on a couple of other bikes just to say you did it and you have an opinion on it. And from there, you're able to make that well-informed decision. But in my opinion, guys, I mean, there's nothing wrong with this bike. It's just Can-Am just revamped a lot of stuff to make sure that people can ride a little bit longer. They can feel a little bit more comfortable. Their demographics on who their riders are, they got to accommodate everybody, and they're doing a great job of doing so. But this is just the previous generation of body style. So if you are considering a pre-owned bike, just something to consider. It's just what year is it and what other compatible model would be available in a certain budget if it was a newer body style. But that's just what it comes down to. But guys, like I said, I just wanted to talk a little bit about pre-owned bikes, especially for those that are in the market, some of those that are doing your research and your homework. I try my best to give as much information as possible so you guys can make that well-informed decision. But thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.